Hello, I'm David Smith, and again, this is my inquiry 4. As posted in the other video, this is a discovery of the geometric sequence in a real-world application such as the guitar fretboard. The other video explains the guitar frets are not all the same length. As they move up the neck, they get closer and closer together, and this is an actual use of the geometric sequence. I'm going to go ahead and skip the engagement part of this lesson. That's going to be left in the actual lesson plan. I want to get to more of the how to actually perform this lesson when you're working with the students. The students will be working in groups of 4. 3 is possible, 4 is ideal. 4, you'll have 2 students holding the guitar, one on either end, so that when they're sitting at their desk it won't be awkward and possibly fall. And then 2 people will be in charge of measuring. And also those that are measuring when they record their answers, as to the lengths, which I'll talk about what you're measuring in a second, when they record those answers, they need to convert those from fractions to actual decimal places. The math can be done later. Now what they're going to do is when they do their measurements, if you have a handout 1, this is what handout 1 looks like right here. And it says the lengths of what we're measuring. Right here, the nut to bridge, first fret to bridge, second fret to bridge. And again, this right here is the bridge, and this is the nut. So where it says nut to bridge, you'll actually take your tape measure, and I found it easiest to put the end up next to the nut and measure all the way down. And you want to look right at the very peak of that's called the saddle, but right there where it touches the bridge. And in this case, it's 25 inches, and what did I have? 25 and 13/16, which is approximately 25.81. So now we'll write that down here on handout 1. Nut to bridge is 25.81, and then we'll measure this again. And for first fret to bridge, now we're going to put the measuring tape right behind the first fret and measure on up to here, which is 24 and 9/16, which is approximately 24.56. So we're going to write that on here for that length, 24.56. And this is in inches. Of course, as stated in the lesson plan, you can use centimeters. In that case, you want to use to the nearest 1/10 of a centimeter for accuracy purposes. Now, I'll go ahead and tell this for time's sake. The second fret to bridge, I measured that to be 22.94, and the 4th fret, I measured that to be 20 inches and a half. Now, what the students are going to be doing for the right-hand column of this handout is they're going to be finding the ratio from one to the next. And as you can see, these columns are kind of offset a bit. So the ratio they're going to be finding here for this first column is 24.56 over 25.81. As the instructions say, it is the ratio of the shorter length to the longer length. So when you do that math right there, this comes out to be 0.952. So that's the ratio that we'll write there for that one, 952. When you do the ratio for first fret to the bridge to the length of the second fret to the bridge, that ratio calculates to be 9.34. Now again, these are my measurements, and each guitar is going to be different. So if your class, or even if your individual groups who are using different guitars, happens to find that their measurements are different, the ratios should be close to the same, but the lengths could actually be quite a bit different. But yeah, the ratios is what we're looking for. And ideally, the actual relationship that should be, that rate or ratio, should be 2 to the negative 1/12, which that comes out to be 0.944. So all these, as I said in the lesson plan, should be within 3/100ths from that actual ratio. Now the second sheet, they'll continue to work on that sheet until they complete it. And once they're done with that, for the elaboration phase, they'll be working on this handout 2, which with this second handout, they're actually going to take that rate I said, the 0.944, and use that ratio to calculate these actual lengths, what they should have been, given what the actual string length is, which is 25.81. So I measured this guitar's string length to be 25.81, and so that's the calculated length for that, 25.81, and that's going to be the same for both of those. Now, for the fret to bridge, my calculated length, I'm going to go ahead and plug the equation A, which was the 25.81, that was the initial length, and that's times the rate of 0.944 20.44 to the second, since we're looking at the second fret. And that equals, I did the math to be exactly 23, or very close to 23. Now it rounded slightly up. Now the measured length that I measured on fret 2 was 22.94. So as you can see, it's very, very accurate. Now I'll go and do fret 4. That was 25.81 times 0.944 to the fourth, since we're looking at the fourth fret to the bridge. And that calculated out to be 20.550, it rounded up, so we'll say 20.5. And the actual measured length that I measured on my guitar here was 20.5 as well. So as a student should find, these should match up very close. That calculated length in this column, they're plugging in the numbers into the equation, and the measured length, which is the length that they actually found on their handout 1. Those should compare pretty close. Those are the two main things I wanted to show in this how-to video, just to make sure that the measurements were taken right, and also the math was done correctly as well. And I think that should be good. I hope the lesson goes well.